Welcome to the NNBN podcast, talking with businesses, charities and organisations across Northamptonshire.
Sponsored by Poppy Design Studio. Find us at poppydesignstudio.com.
So last week was what was known as Good Business Week, led by the Good Business Charter, and I'm delighted that I've got Jenny Herrera, who's the CEO of the Good Business Charter, with me to come and talk to me all about the Good Business Week last week. So Jenny, welcome.
Thank you, Simon. Good to be here.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks for joining us as well, because I think it's great to be able to sort of shout about some of the good things that are going on. So before we do talk about Good Business Week, though, do you want to give us an introduction to yourself, the Good Business Charter, and what you're doing?
Yes, definitely. So the Good Business Charter was set up in 2020, founded by retailer Julian Richer, but he brought together the CBI and the TUC to develop really an accreditation that covers all the key areas of responsible business behaviour. You see, there are a lot of accreditations out there and some brilliant ones, but what about bringing them all together in one place? So what we worked on was an accreditation across 10 components. So it brings together things like the real living wage, which is already a well-established and recognised accreditation, talking about fair tax, and it brings all 10 together to say that actually this, we think, is what businesses in the UK should be doing. They should be able to commit to the real living wage, a fair approach if they use 0 hours contracts, or preferably not use them, employee wellbeing, employee representation, equality, diversity and inclusion. That's the first 5. Then we have environmental responsibility, of course, paying our fair share of tax, our commitment to our customers, ethical sourcing and prompt payment to suppliers. Now, that won't cover everything, but it covers a pretty good standard of 10 minimum standards that businesses and public sector organisations and charities can say, actually, we want to commit to this because it is necessary to be socially and environmentally sustainable. And it's also what consumers and employees are demanding. Yeah,
brilliant. Yeah, thank you for sort of talking that through, because we've seen a lot of change, haven't we, since the pandemic's come in and how things are. And I think, certainly this gives framework to those that are really serious about moving forward and being proud of what they do as well. So the 10 key components that you mentioned, I mean, there's things like the real living wage, which we know about. We've got fairer hours and contracts. We've got the employee wellbeing, employee representation. We'll go on to these in a little bit more detail in a minute. But we've also got equality, diversity and inclusion, environmental responsibility, which we know is going to be key for the future, pay fair tax, commitment to customers, ethical sourcing, and of course, the one that I am really, really passionate about is prompt payment to suppliers. So, Jenny, there's a lot on there. There's obviously 10 key areas. Which one do you think is the main important, or do you think they're all as important as each other?
Oh gosh, that's a good question. They're all important for different reasons, and they touch different buttons, if you like. So when you talk to consumers, the Institute of Business Ethics have done polling, and the thing that most annoys them is corporate tax avoidance. So for consumers, arguably the tax is the big one. But you talk to employees, well, what matters to them? Well, it depends what background they're coming from. For some, it is this workplace really inclusive? For others who are on low wages, am I actually going to be paid enough to live on? And as you've mentioned, for small businesses, and this makes us quite unique really to have the prompt payment in there. Some people would say, oh, that's just an operational thing, but I'm sure you are well aware, well, actually, no, some businesses are making a strategic decision to put small businesses on very long payment terms to help their cash flow, and that's just not fair. So we really feel passionately about having the prompt payment there as well. So they're of equal importance, really, but some are particularly championed by different groups of people.
Yeah, it depends on where you sit as well within the 10 components as well, doesn't it? Because certainly prompt payment, I know, is critical for Business Lifeline and sustainability as well. And we were actually talking to Liz Barclay, the Small Business Commissioner, about this on the podcast a couple of weeks ago. And, we've signed the prompt payment code. Come on, let's make sure we pay people on time and try and encourage others to do so. It's not as easy as that, we all know, because business is business and cash is cash. But it does worry, I think, a lot of small business owners when they are kind of in that situation where they're kind of last of the pecking order, or they're not seen as maybe that vital supplier. So I'm so glad it's in the 10 components now. Now, talking about the Good Business Charter, it's national, isn't it? So anybody around the country providing they meet the 10 components and get involved?
It is national, yes, that is exactly it. We have got York as our first GBC city, where the council, the NHS Trust, the universities accredited and are championing it to businesses in the area, which is a model we've been looking at and exploring in Northamptonshire as well across the county. But really it is national. And I think that's great for an organisation that may have offices in different places in the country. They don't want to have to join lots of different local charters. It's nice to be in something that's recognised. But for us, Simon, the real key is that we want to get to that situation where it is so well recognised, the GBC accreditation stamp, that the members of the public, when they're shopping or when they're looking for a job, that they are favouring GBC businesses. And wouldn't it be great to see that become part of government procurement or investment, all the scandals and situations we hear about? There is, from our perspective, a clear benchmark of what good business looks like, and that's sort of our aim and our vision, that as more and more organisations accredit, they can spread the word to down their supply chain to their customers, and together we can really bring a movement to create a fairer society.
Yeah, brilliant. And I mentioned, you mentioned Northamptonshire. I've been listening to Adrian Price that was talking to you on the Open for Business show. Anybody that knows that I sit in for Adrian once a month on the radio show on live radio, who we work closely with. But he actually said about becoming the first county to become accredited, which would be amazing if we could. And of course, we're, as with what we're doing, we're behind trying to help spread the message and share what the GBC is all about. So so that was great to hear that. And it was a great interview as well, wasn't it? I think Adrian's great when he interviews people with interesting stories, and also has got something of value to businesses, which obviously the GBC is.
Yeah, he's been such a supporter of the Good Business Charter and the university as well, and all the work that they do there. It is, if we can't get the councils involved and everything moving forward in Northamptonshire, it will not be for lack of his enthusiasm and effort. That's for sure.
Yeah, but I'm going to leave him with the lead on that. That's not for us to lead on. We're here just to support what's going on and, support what we can, but also, support what Adrian's looking to do as well with his vision around becoming a county-wide accredited county. That would be amazing if it was. But there's a lot of businesses down here. There's obviously a lot of work to do as well. But who knows? Let's see what the future brings. Now, last week was Good Business Week.
It was indeed a very exciting opportunity for us to really champion good business. You know what? Don't we always read about the scandals? And actually, there's loads and loads of businesses just going about their business, caring for people, doing things right, behaving responsibly. And we just don't hear about those. So we thought, you know what? We need a week where we really champion that and make a lot of noise about it, and just encourage people to, well, first of all, just raise awareness that there are plenty of people who think good business matters, but also, of course, look at raising awareness of the Good Business Charter as a way to differentiate for those who are able to uphold our commitments and those who perhaps cannot.
Yeah, and Good Business Week, you're quite right. I absolutely 100% agree with what you're saying there. We hear about the scandals, we hear about the negative news, but we don't hear about the positive news. I think it's a British thing. I do think it is that. I think we're too focused on not talking ourselves up as much as we could do. So it was great when I saw it come out, and obviously we were keen to share the message about Good Business Week and the work that the GBC is doing as well. But do you want to talk us through what Good Business Week looked like and what went on throughout the week?
Yeah, so this year we decided to keep it low-key as a social media campaign. Now, next year it's our 5th year anniversary, and we'll have a lot more time to plan a lead-in to really go big and perhaps do some events. But this year we really focus on a social media campaign. And we chose kind of the key areas to focus on. So on Monday, we focused on fair pay. So Fair Pay Monday. Great to see the Living Wage Foundation get behind us over socials. And, there's been quite a lot of stuff in the press recently. We actually had to revoke Capita's accreditation because of their decision not to pay the real living wage. There's been stuff in the news about Brewdog as well, another example of a high-profile business that has said we can't pay it. And so it was good to really take that day and just say, no, this matters. This matters to the people who are actually on these low wages. That's the point. And because we're founded by a retailer, he's managed to do that within a retail business. And we are aware there are some sectors for whom it's particularly difficult. But, within those sectors, we do have accredited organisations. So it was just to try and inspire people that this is still worth fighting for, really, worth making a reality. So that was Monday. Tuesday, Timely Tuesday. So that was a focus on prompt payment. Great to have the Small Business Commissioner do a blog for us, and to get the FSB as well bringing in their support behind that and just really championing that component. Wednesday, we looked at wellbeing, and actually we were pleased to announce the re-accreditation of the CBI. So last year we had to suspend their accreditation because of the problems that came up with issues around sexual harassment and all sorts of things that raised real questions over their wellbeing and representation components. But they've done a lot of work over the last few months, and we've been working with them and rigorous monitoring to ensure that we were happy to renew their accreditation. So that's good to have them back on board and just profile the importance of wellbeing. Thursday, Customer Thursday, did a blog in the Institute of Business Ethics along with Julian, and just really focusing on the fact that this matters to customers, and customers can choose to favour the good businesses with their custom. And by Friday, we got to beyond profit, just looking at all those other areas like the environment and just kind of choosing these key themes. But what's been really great over the week is to see different organisations taking the opportunity to perhaps share a case study of what good business looks like in their environment, or share a quote about why good business matters to them. People like West Brom getting something up in their branches to celebrate the Good Business Charter and Good Business Week. Richard Sounds did a lovely little video for us. So it really has captured the imagination, I think, of our accredited organisations, and hopefully that's spread and more people are like, oh, actually, this is something we ought to be celebrating and make it an annual thing that we all can look forward to in snowy February.
You mentioned about a couple of the companies there that are involved with the GBC. What sort of organisations are actually involved with the Good Business Charter?
So we have about 1,300 organisations of all sizes and sector. We do have quite a few of our larger ones tend to be just happen to be in the financial services sector. So I mentioned Aviva, Legal and General, another big one. St James's Place was our first FTSE 100 to accredit, and TSB, our first and so far only retail bank, who've all been just brilliant at promoting what they're doing and just really working with us. And interestingly, we were just also able to announce last week Leeds Building Society accrediting. So it just happens that a lot are in that sector, but obviously Richard Sounds is accredited, Brompton Bicycles is another one. And we really, I say to some businesses, the area of first supermarket is still available, and perhaps first big manufacturer. I think there's lots of opportunities to lead the way and hold yourself to account. I think some businesses are looking at this and they just want to make sure they've done their due diligence, that they really do meet our 10, which is what we need. We want people to make sure that they're really taking this seriously. We've got loads of small businesses of all different. Farrington Oils, you'll have heard from the interview last week that they've recently accredited. Lots of businesses working in recruitment or whatever it might be. And charities as well. Amnesty is one of the charities that's accredited, the Trussell Trust, which runs the food banks, and then University of Northampton, and then the two universities in York. So I think we really wanted to design something that worked for all sizes and sector of organisations so that everyone could be involved. And that's certainly what we are seeing with the ones that have so far accredited.
No, I think that's great, and it's great to see you got a whole diverse range of people getting involved as well in 4 years. So next year is going to be the big 5th birthday. I'm not going to ask you for any trade secrets or anything about what's going on next year. I'm sure you'll make the announcement when it gets closer to the time, or when you're ready to shout about it. But just going back to Friday. Now, Friday was all about Beyond Profit. Talk to me what it's like for yourselves about some of the organisations that are involved that do put things before profit, because it's key, I think, for the future.
Yeah, it's such an encouragement, isn't it? You think we did a rebrand about a year or so ago, and we just really clarified that for us it's about putting people first. So it's not profit first. Obviously businesses have to make a profit, otherwise the business will fold. So it's not that profit is wrong or evil, and we tend not to use the word purpose. It's not about having a purpose separate from profit. It is okay to make profit, but no one starts a business saying, oh, I want to start this business just to make a profit. They're usually starting the business because there's a gap in the market they want to fill, or whatever it might be. But what we really are encouraged to hear is how people like the putting people first and really just treating others how they would want to be treated, whether it's their workforce or their suppliers or their customers. So I think there's a lot of talk about it, isn't there? And this is where the whole care for your planet comes in as well. But what we've really focusing is the S in ESG. There's actually a lot of stuff done around the E. There's a lot of stats, and one of our 10 is obviously the road to net zero and looking at your environmental impact. But we're doing it for future generations, and it comes back to the people. And we just need to be thinking more carefully about how we're socially responsible towards people. And I think there's lots of different directions that can go. When we look at EDI, there's lots of different areas that our organisations look at. One accountancy firm was telling us that there was one area, when they looked at ethnic diversity, they realised that there was one particular group that was just totally not represented in their workplace. They're now getting year 6 kids from a primary school in to do some kind of accountancy workshop type thing, so that from that really young age, they're helping children from this local school from that ethnic background see people and think, believe that they could perhaps go into accountancy one day, and sort of starting really young. And that's just a very small example of the kind of different ways that organisations are being innovative and creative. Another example would be the Homeless Covenant. We're working with Crisis and the DWP and the Levelling Up Department on a homelessness covenant, and that's about encouraging employers to say, well, what can we do around homelessness? What can we do to support those who might be at risk of homelessness, who are working for us? But also, is there a way of providing placements for them? And one of the reasons that the Good Business Charter is involved is it's not just about giving someone an opportunity, it's about then providing a workplace that pays them a decent wage, gives them secure hours, cares for their well-being, makes sure they feel involved, and gives them a voice. And that sums up our employee components, really.
And what you just said about that accountancy firm, I think is fantastic. I really do, because they're obviously planning ahead, they're thinking ahead, but they're also looking where gaps are that they may be able to fill for the future, to look at the EDI. And I think that is a tremendous example that, Good Business Week is all about sharing those successful bits of news and everything. It doesn't have to be all during the week, does it? But obviously this is a campaign that you've launched to obviously share the good news around the country and get the news out there. So hopefully we'll be hearing a lot more of good news that's going out and how people are really working within the GBC framework. But Jenny, if people have got sort of questions or they want to understand more about the Good Business Charter, what can they do? Do they need to go to a website, or is there something they can find online that will point them towards information?
The best thing is to go to our website, goodbusinesscharter.com, or do go and find any of our social channels and see what's been going on, all the conversation that happened last week, all the endorsements, I guess, that we were getting from different organisations. We would love to work with you if you're thinking, I'd like to accredit, but I'm not sure if I meet the components, then get in touch. All the information is there on our website, and we'd be delighted to see you and get involved with us.
Yeah, brilliant. And it is a growing membership as well, which is fantastic to see across the country, of people getting involved with the Good Business Charter. So, Jenny, thank you for joining us. Well done on what you've done last week with the Good Business Week. Keep up the good work, and I'm sure between Adrian or I, we're going to have you back into Northamptonshire at some point via the radio station, via the podcast, whatever. But obviously, thanks for joining us today.
And thanks so much for having me, Simon, and thank you so much for your support and the way that you've helped spread the word too.